Marie Elizabeth Molly, thank you so unbelievably much for being on the Gutsy Chick podcast with me and saying yes to this chat where we're diving into being a good girl, breaking those rules, and all the taboos around sex, death, and cash.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I can't wait for our conversation.
I know, right? Okay, so I have known you now for how many years? 3, 4 years?
Is it 3? I think
I
it's
think
3.
it's 3. Yeah. And what I've learned about you is you used to do traditional Chinese medicine, so TCM, massage therapy. These have gone by the wayside. You also did color healing and sound healing, which color healing is one I've never heard of, and we might have to talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
Sound healing, you and I both know Jeremiah. He's been on the podcast. He's our sound healer now. But your
So
sound
good, so
healing.
good. Plus, you and I both are doing drum journeying, which is
Oh,
also
yeah.
a kind of
Totally.
sound healing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have to share this with you. My drum broke. So this is the drum that Melissa Seaman gave me. She's been on the podcast. She's our teacher. But the hoop broke. And so I
Oh,
reached out to Maria Elizabeth, or excuse me, Maria Yesbaru, who was just on the podcast a couple of weeks back. And I asked her, what's the protocol? Because it broke. And she was like,
right.
hang it on the wall as art. It is done.
Yeah.
Or bury it. And I
Wow.
was like, oh, return it to the land. I so freaking love that.
Amazing.
I know, right? So, for you and for anybody else who's got a drum, if it breaks, now you know the protocol from a Native
Yeah.
American because that baby is made out of cedar and elk.
I thought it was the elk one, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's elk, and then it's got my all the stones on the back are jade. I'm going to show you guys.
Wow.
So those of you who are listening can't see this, but I'll try to describe it. So my main middle stone is an aqua jade and it's an oval, which is feminine. That's that feminine trait, right? And then these are all arrowheads on the 4 corners, the 4 directions.
Cool.
And I always hold it so that the directions are the right way. So the black earth goes down and the red goes up and then the water and the air go to the sides.
Wow.
That's my baby right there. And it broke.
Wow.
And
It broke.
it's got my native symbols in it too. Like the
Wow.
tilt it just slightly. You can see those are my native symbols that would get tattooed on my forearm.
Wow.
Broke.
But that means you've moved through a cycle. That means you're entering a new
Yes, a
thing.
big cycle. Serious
Exactly.
cycle. All right, there we go. She's hung. Yeah. And that was my other question to Maria and Melissa was, did I move through some big thing? Yeah, I did.
Uh,
Yep. And I got that 5 years ago. So in 5 years I moved through a big ass cycle.
Clearly.
And so you've been moving through some pretty big ass cycles too, sister.
Seriously.
So
Big.
you let go of the TCM, you let go of the massage therapy, and then you started
As I
helping.
look at it, so the way I look at it, I've known really what I'm here to do or a sense of my purpose since I was 17. However, the way that purpose expresses itself keeps changing. So the underlying thread is the same, but how it expresses itself keeps changing. And what I realized at 17, I was in this theater program and we had this final performance, and I had a really sad solo in the show. And this other kid came up to me and was like, "Oh my God, your song was so sad. It made me cry in front of my mother, you know?" And I had this flash of insight that part of my purpose is to take people out of regular space, like ordinary space, into an altered space, have them feel things, and then return them to their life different, changed for the better, more open, more aware, like that. So I had
Yeah.
this instantaneous realization at 17. Now, at that time, I thought it was through music and art and like that. And then after college, I became a body worker. And so I did it through body work. As I
Mhm.
worked through my master's in Chinese medicine, I began doing it through Chinese medicine. And I've gotten more and more subtle, right? So massage is the most gross, so to speak, gross meaning physical. You're
Yeah.
touching the physical body. With acupuncture, I'm now off the body, needling the body. Then with sound and color, I'm off the body in the field,
Oh
right?
my
And
gosh.
now with coaching, which I was first trained as a life coach in 2003 to 2004. So that's been my bread and butter for a long time. That is, again, in the space that exists between us, but it involves bringing somebody into a not ordinary space of a session, rearranging how they see and feel and think about their lives, and
Yes.
then putting them back into their lives change. So,
Mm.
and I mean, drum journey, like all writing, the writing that I do. I also have an MFA in poetry, and I spent years primarily as a poet.
Yes.
Same thing. When you read a poet, you enter altered time, you enter another space as you're reading the poem, and then you come back to your life, hopefully with more insight and more depth and maybe a more open heart. Um,
Mm.
because the kind of poems I like have depth of feeling. They're not just intellectual exercises, it's not like intellectual masturbation. It actually has heft, like feeling.
Yes.
So that's the context in which, and also I do underwater photography. I'm a very avid
Oh.
underwater photographer. And same thing, like when I bring people into this underwater world that is not our normal world that we live in, hopefully for people to get stopped by this beauty and
Mhm.
this weirdness of what lives underwater. And maybe that has us look at our lives in a new way. Maybe we have a more tolerant or broad understanding. Like there's so much gender switching that goes on under the ocean.
Gosh,
In the
right?
ocean, there's so many fish and even eels. There are these beautiful little ribbon eels that are blue when they're adults. All of them are born black. They turn blue as adults. They're all born male. When it comes time to reproduce, they turn female. The female is yellow. So you'll see a blue and a yellow one hanging out together sometimes. And then once the female reproduces, she dies. So it's like that's the life cycle. Not all of them turn female, but just enough that they reproduce.
That
So
they
that's
get
an
more.
example of the weirdness that lives under there. So maybe by knowing that, we could become more understanding of gender differences as humans.
Oh my
And,
gosh.
not be so fixated on the binary, right? So that's an example. Like my entire life was kind of organized around showing or demonstrating or having people directly feel a broader understanding or a different frame than usual that then
Mhm.
hopefully wakes them up a bit.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. You're a master at this because yeah, you've shown me literally an example of everything that you just said. And so my brain's going, "Ooh, we could talk about that. Ooh, we could talk about that. Ooh." Okay, so let's start with the underwater photography because you just
Mm,
came back from Bali.
I
You
did.
just had an amazing experience. I got to see it from your Facebook and all of the pictures that you posted. I'm going, I don't know what I'm looking at, but this is freaking cool. And then you'll tell the story with it, which you're a phenomenal storyteller. What's the one that I kept on saying, "Oh my god, I love this creature. What is this?"
Oh, the nudibranch.
Yes, the nudie. You called it the nudie, and I was
Yeah,
just
the
like, "Oh my
nudie.
god, that's forever."
Nudies are amazing. So nudibranchs are sea slugs, and they have these gills. So they have
I'll
these things called rhinophores, which are like their antennas,
Yep.
and then they have these gills in the back that are external, and they're like frondy, wavy things. And they're just beautiful. They come in all sizes and colors. I mean, I was shooting some that looked like a grain of sand.
Holy
Uh,
crap.
once they were magnified with the camera, then you see the detail, but like some were just tiny, tiny, and then some were, maybe this big and a couple of inches long. I mean, they really range. And they're a fascinating creature because they are hermaphroditic. So we're talking about sex, death, and cash today. So let's do the sex piece. They are hermaphroditic. So not this time, but in the past, also in Indonesia, like 12 years ago, I shot a pair of nudibranchs that were having sex, and they have these coiled penises that both were going into each other. So they
Awesome.
They both were being the male and the female at the same time.
That's
And
epic.
then they lay eggs. And many of them, not all, but many of them lay their eggs. Some of them lay their eggs in a spiral. It just looks like this white spiral on the sand. It's gorgeous. Some of them lay their eggs, pink eggs, in these. It looks like a rose. It looks like roses. It looks like flower petals. They're insane. And it's just like this little slug, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my
But
God.
it's so complex and incredibly fascinating.
Right. And okay, so a corked spiral
Is
penis.
yes.
Is it like cone shaped?
No, there's a sheath, and then it sort of coils within the sheath, at least of that particular type of nudibranch. That's the only nudibranch penis I've ever seen. And at least of that type, that it was like a little blue coil inside this translucent sheath.
How freaking
So
cool.
I was able to capture both of them going toward each other. It was bananas.
Um,
So,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
holy coolness. I mean, okay. So phenomenal example of bringing us into a completely different world that most people don't get to see. And that's very tangible. We've got pictures of this thing.
Yeah,
And then the intangible are the conversations that you and I have had
yeah.
where I'll bring up a topic and you're like, okay, so do you mind if I help you reframe this? That's how we always start that conversation. And I know she's just gone into coach mode.
Oops.
And I love it. I absolutely love it
You
because
asked
this
for
is
consent.
usually right. It's usually on our drive from the airport to Melissa's house and
Right.
or on the way back,
Yep.
usually on the way. We're done
Yep.
by the time on our way back to
Right,
the
right.
airport.
Because then we're in Melissa space, and that's a whole other
Right.
thing.
Exactly. But those conversations have been so powerful for me
Mm,
because it becomes this like, let's look at it from a completely different perspective and see how it changes how you're thinking about the situation. And as soon as you do that for me, I'm like, oh, yeah, that solved it. Okay, we're good. It's so brilliant. You're so unbelievably gifted when it comes to that. You
thank you.
are. And that's the transformational work that you help women go through,
Yeah.
particularly if they have this good girl persona.
Yeah, yeah. So I was very acculturated to be a good girl. I grew up,
Mhm. Me too.
yeah. First of all, I mean, I grew up in New York City. I went to the best all girls school from kindergarten through 12th grade. So 13 years of conditioning in how to be an intellectual, very heady, perfectionist intellectual was my
Mm,
schooling. And then I also grew up with a Swedish mother who was nobility. She was not royalty. There's a difference between nobility and royalty, but my mother grew up, her family was knighted, so to speak, like in the 1700s, 1732. So I grew up with a lot of that kind of social conditioning around appropriateness and decorum and, comme il faut, like just being, yeah, appropriate. And
mhm,
so with all of that, I had a lot to overcome to figure out who am I and what makes me tick and what do I really like and what do I enjoy. And I always kind of went against the grain. Uh, my father would my father was an MD. He was a doctor, and every
mm,
single step I took, he pushed back on. So when I went to massage school, he pushed back and was like, "Why don't you go to physical therapy school? It's more respected." And I said, because I don't want to be a physical therapist. I want to be a massage therapist. When I went to Chinese medicine school, it was, why don't you go to medical school, Western medical school, because it's more respected. And because I don't want to work in a hospital, because I want to be an acupuncturist. So every single thing I've had to push back on to be myself, to be my own
mm.
person. And so I know what it is to be deeply steeped in proper, let's say class based, appropriate culture,
Yeah.
and how difficult, I know how hard it is to break free of that. If you are a person who's meant to break free of that, I think there are people who are genuinely happy in that system, but not all of us are. And so I'm here for those who are like, wow, I care about the planet. I want to do good with my life. I want to make a difference. I'm not just here to go to the country club and like wear pearls, you know. No, nothing against those who love to go to the country club and wear pearls. It's all good,
Right.
right? And for those who want to do something more meaningful and make a difference and raise the love, like expand the consciousness on the planet, I'm here for that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you have the Sex, Death, and Cash Substack, which this is my favorite Substack. Of all the
Oh,
Substacks that I read, that's the one that I'm like, that's what I need to be reading. And it's because the way that you tell the stories, we can all relate.
oh, good.
Even if we're the type clutching our pearls going, she said fuck.
Did what? Right.
Yes. Oh, my pearls. Um, but it's so relatable across the board, relatable. But you do have to get to a certain point where you're no longer this clutching your pearls good girl to be able to read about these three taboos: sex, death, and cash.
Yeah.
And
I chose them for a reason. And I want
yeah,
to say something about the three taboos, because I'm so glad you named them like that. These are three areas. The reason I chose these three areas as my focus, I mean, aside from like I've had a lot of all three in my life, and
mm-hmm,
been through all of them a lot, is that they are three areas that in polite society we avoid talking about.
absolutely.
And
Politics is the other one.
religion is the
Oh,
fifth.
and religion. That's right.
Right.
Avoid,
And
avoid.
avoid her, cancel, delete. So, but sex, death, and cash are so central to our lives. They so affect how
Every
we
bit.
experience our lives on a daily basis, and we avoid talking about them. And we, God forbid we talk about any of this stuff with our family members. So then you have these people who are not in their power with relation to their sex. They don't, especially women,
Mhm.
we tend to not, the way I put it is own our sex. We don't have, I don't want to say control is not the word. We don't have agency, a lot of
Yeah.
us, around our sexuality. We sit in a passive place, waiting to be chosen, waiting to be desired, laying back, so to speak.
Mm.
And one of the saddest conversations I ever had was with a total stranger at a hotel bar at a conference. He was at a different conference, but at the same hotel. And I ended up at a table with his people because there were no other seats. And it goes around, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And at that time, I was still a relationship coach. And so I was like, oh, I'm a relationship and sexuality coach. And this total stranger, a man, which was surprising to me, but so beautiful, just opened up to me and the whole table about, he said, the women that I have slept with, I wish they would tell me what they like. They just lie
Ooh.
there silently. And
Oh,
I have to try to
pry it
figure,
out of them.
right. I have to try to figure it out. And like it would be such a gift if they would tell me what they like and what they want. And when you ask women, well, what do you like and what you want?
They don't
So
know.
many cannot tell you because they haven't explored or they haven't given themselves permission to really understand their own desire
Oh, oh. Doesn't
or
that
even
break
be
your
a
heart?
desiring person because it's not appropriate, right?
Right?
And so it comes back to that good girl thing. And the good girl thing also keeps us powerless in a certain way, keeps us compliant, it keeps us malleable, it keeps us controllable, which benefited society for a really long time. But the
Yep.
time has come on this planet where we need to wake the fuck up
Rise
because
up.
we have lost the plot, and we have
Right.
got, we're right in terms
We've
of
gone
compassion and
sideways.
care, we're going sideways. And so that's really what I mean about the sexuality piece and the death piece. Like many of us live so afraid of dying that we don't actually live. And
Yikes.
so, there I sat with both my parents as they were dying. And that's very different than obviously not all deaths are beautiful. Like some deaths are horrifying and traumatic and ugly, and we're seeing a lot of those right
Mm,
now on our
yes.
planet. Uh, and so I'm not minimizing or negating the existence of like really painful and ugly deaths. And at the same time, if you have the opportunity to sit with a dying person, it will change your life. Like it has the power to really reveal what truly matters and what's real beyond what we think is real.
Mhm.
And that's where I come from with death is with the death piece of Sex, Death, and Cash is allowing death to be something that motivates you to live more fully, to live your life, because you could go tomorrow, and that's the truth.
Mhm.
Could go today. We don't know.
Right?
And then also to not be as afraid of this transition that we all go through
Part of
because we're
life.
in and out of bodies all the time, from my
Right?
perspective. So,
Physically, mentally,
yeah,
emotionally, in and out of
emotionally,
bodies all the
yeah,
time.
all the time. And then the cash piece, our world runs on transactions. It runs on currency. It runs on how we, uh, yeah, how we transact.
Yep, how
And
we exchange.
many of us, how we exchange, exactly. And many of us, though, especially those of us who either have inherited money or we've married into money, maybe we don't come from money and suddenly we have money. There's a discomfort often and a guilt and it's tricky to be a person who has money in a world where so many people have very little and often not enough. And that is a very tricky space to navigate. Like how do I actually enjoy what I have? How do I also make a difference with what I have and be a person of conscience in the world while not being constrained or constricted or embarrassed or afraid because I am in this fortunate position? And so that's a lot of the work I've had to do over the last 20 something years since I first inherited. And, here I am, this like little healer hippie girl, and all of a sudden I inherited money from my great grandmother in Venezuela that I had
Mhm.
no idea existed. And it just like rejiggered, overnight my position in the world. And it's like, oh, wow, what do I do now? And I
Mhm.
immediately started giving away as much as possible because I just was so uncomfortable with it. And then it
Oh,
was like, okay, that's not sustainable, like, or wise. And so I've had to learn over the last 25 years. Sorry, I had to count there.
all good.
I've had to learn over the last 25 years how to really steward what I've been given with grace and skill and agency.
Mhm. And you're teaching those of us who want to be philanthropists how to do it the right way because you've learned. You've learned the wrong way, you've learned the right way, you've learned tricks that those of us who are just getting into that world are going, "Oh, we need to know that."
Right.
Yeah. I
And
can't wait to find
understanding
out
some of the
more.
dynamics, yeah, and understanding some of the weird dynamics that can arise, when you are moving in circles of people who have differing amounts of money. How do you be you and not hide, but also like support people and not get into weird power dynamics and like dumb shit that philanthropists tend to do.
Ego.
Yeah.
All the
So
egoing.
all the egoing and right, all the posturing or like, oh, you need to give me, you need to report every cent. I'm like, I'll just like, I'm a fan of giving people unrestricted giving because I trust them to know what their organization needs, for example.
Exactly.
And of course, an annual report would be great. I'd love to see what the money's doing, and I don't need you to report back every 15 minutes because I'm afraid you're going to like waste it. Like, that's stupid. Do the thing you're here to do. Don't spend
Yes.
all your time trying to report to me. It takes people off the mission. Anyway,
It's
I could go on about that, but that's
right.
just an example of what I'm talking about, where philanthropists just get very self-important and need a lot of attention in ways that are not helpful.
Yeah. The opposite of what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
The posturing really is the thing that we see the most. Like that's the outward expression of what's really going on is them going, well, I did this,
right.
right? And
And that too.
I
Yeah,
am important now. And it's like, no, you made a difference in someone else's life.
yeah,
That's important,
yeah.
not you.
Right, exactly. Like, you enabled someone to do their mission at a bigger and more successful level. That's great.
Yeah.
Like, and the
Yes.
work that's being done is the thing that matters. You're the scaffolding. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
And own
And
that
I'm cool
scaffolding.
with that. Like, I'm cool with being the scaffolding. Like, I don't
Exactly.
need, yeah,
We don't need labels on buildings with your name.
exactly. I so do not.
It's it always cracks me up. The first time that I experienced that in my life was actually in college. So Illinois, Chicago is where I went to school first, and one of the players on the baseball team became a phenomenal pro baseball player. And they named the field after him. And he is one of the most humble people. And I was like, that right there, that's that's a good way to get a name on a field in this case, but a building or,
Yeah,
on something. Doing it from that beautiful space of giving
yes,
and giving back and doing it in just this beautiful way. He still to this day is the most honored for all of the work that he does for other people in Major League Baseball.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yes,
so amazing.
yeah,
Curtis Granderson, just throwing that out there. Uh,
right. Well, you.
right? Thank you for being who you are, Curtis.
Exactly.
CJ is what we knew him as in college, but yeah. Oh, that's how philanthropists should show up. That's how respecting cash, and it really, to me, it comes down to the golden rule, right?
Mm,
That's the
totally.
only rule that should ever need to exist ever. Respect
Mm,
yourself, respect each other, respect the environment. That's
yeah,
it. Those are
that's
the rules, and that's the
pretty
golden
simple.
rule.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty simple.
exactly.
I don't
And
know why
living
it's
from
so
that
hard for
space,
us.
it's interesting though, living from that space as a good girl
Yeah,
becomes super difficult.
say more.
So, if we're in this good girl persona, we can't show up as the person who goes, "Yes, I want to give this money to this person," or, "Oh, I want to do something in the bedroom this way." Like
Mm,
those things can't show up. And
yeah,
it's across all three of these. You
yeah,
can't show up for death. You
yeah.
can't show up in cash, in money, in transactional situations, which is also what sex is. It can be a
It's a
transactional
yeah,
situation.
yeah, yeah.
So if good girls released that persona, in
Wait,
your
wait.
opinion, how do they
Can, I-
show up?
can we unpack the sex transactional thing? Because that's
Yeah,
actually the
let's
thing I
unpack
want
that.
to talk. Yeah, because this is one of the things that good girls, one of the traps good girls fall into around sex
It's
is
transaction.
transactional. And it's like this tit for tat, you did this, so I have to do this. Like, you have, I'm going to get explicit,
Yeah,
note,
go.
note to your listeners, you know, you've been going down on me for the last 20 minutes. I'd better, first of all, I'd better have an orgasm so I can go do something to you next.
Oh,
Or B, I'd better, reciprocate in some way, whether or not I have an orgasm, because not everybody,
can
orgasms.
get there.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And so this transactional thing kills sex.
It kills the orgasm too.
It kills the orgasm. Like if you're so worried about, oh my God, this is taking so long, and what, oh, they're gonna want me to do because they've done this for me. I better do this for them. When you're doing A, you're in your head. B, you are everything is being measured in this transactional way, and
Hmm.
you're not actually receiving. And the most beautiful sex happens when you can be really fully receptive. And it's
Hmm.
that receptivity that actually makes a beautiful experience for everybody involved. And that's how flow naturally happens when you're in your body, when you're not overthinking it, when you're allowing yourself to receive. It all comes out in the wash. Like you'll do something some other time if you didn't do something this time.
Right.
And sometimes to break women of this habit, I have had them deliberately set a timer with their partner and like decide in advance, okay, we're going to have oral sex for 10 minutes. And the partner goes down on them for 10 minutes. When the timer goes off, you stop and walk away. Like,
Oh,
that's it.
and we're done.
And we're done.
Oh shit.
And, and this one, what we call one way touch in the field, helps to break us of this habit of this tit for tat transactional thing. And you learn to flex your receiving muscle. And that is a beautiful thing for everybody. And then vice versa.
Oh my.
You can set a timer and go down on your partner or give a foot massage or whatever is desired. It doesn't, the what is less important than the act of learning to simply receive or
Oh
simply give,
yeah.
and then not feel the need to
Tit for tat.
immediately reciprocate, so that you break this good girl thing of like, oh, to deserve pleasure I have to give pleasure. That is what kills our libido for a lot of us over time.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's interesting to watch too when it comes to sex and women of a certain age. They decide, or it just not spontaneously but just develops over time, that sex is no longer a part of something I need.
Yeah.
How do we get women of a certain age, above 55? We'll put the marker there. Above 55. Sometimes we see this at 52. Uh, but how do we get them out of that this is my new good girl phase? I'm
Mm.
going to be a good girl and not ask my husband for sex anymore, or not ask my partner for sex anymore.
If she ever
I've
did.
it well, and there's the beginning, right? There's the beginning. How do we break this of them? Because for some women at this age, it becomes painful,
It can
right? There's
become
the
painful.
physicality of it, and that
Exactly.
needs to be cared for with a doctor and
100%.
healers like us.
Right.
But if there's no physical ramifications of having sex and they just have decided this is no longer a part of my life, how do we help them break back in?
I think the first thing is to understand that our sex is deeply entwined with our life force.
Mhm.
So when we decide that, we are basically deciding to erode our vitality,
Ugh. Stab me in the heart.
right?
Yeah.
And if you look at it like that, then all of a sudden keeping your sexual energy alive becomes more important.
Yes.
It's very, very, very deeply linked to our vitality, to our magnetism, to our uh, radiance.
Hmm.
And so maybe there's no desire. I have certainly gone through periods where there's no desire.
Absolutely.
And still, I would start with self pleasuring before bringing anything to a partner.
Yeah.
Even just gently touching yourself, like, and especially if intercourse is painful, like really get to know your vulva, your external genitalia, get to know it, get to know your clit, like what side of the clit is the most sensitive, what type of stroke feels good. once you get to know yourself in that way, then you can share that with a partner. But most all and also it's beyond genitalia. Like what does
It's
your
just
skin
touch.
yeah, what does your
Yeah.
skin want? Buy oils that feel delicious on your
Mhm.
skin. You know, adorn yourself
Yes.
in oils or scents or clothes or anything that has you feel connected to your body and sensuous. The other thing I would do is also dance. I think dance is another doorway in. So you could put on a sexy song and just move. You don't even have to like do some crazy dance. You just kind of gently sway your body and move your hips a bit and start to just feel yourself in your hips and legs because that is so important for us as we grow older in terms of balance, in terms of, yeah, uh,
Longevity.
longevity.
It
Yeah.
really does. It
And so
speaks to
that's
longevity.
really what I would suggest.
Mm.
And if intercourse is painful, there's like a medical-ish. I mean, it's like there's a vibrator that was developed by doctors that has red light and heat that helps to regenerate vaginal tissue and
Mhm.
like
And gentle vibration.
right. And so it's called the V Fit.
Ooh,
It's made by Joy Lux, and you can go get that and use that 3 days a week. And you might start to A, have less pain, and B, feel more desire as uh, juiciness returns. I know juicy.
I
But
mean, in
yeah,
all the ways the
yeah,
juiciness returns.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I have lots more suggestions, but that's where I'd start is really touch yourself, connect with yourself. And then, there's so many reasons why we stop wanting sex with our partners. And, you probably have to deal with some of those before you'll let them touch you.
Yeah,
And so, there might need to be some conversations. There might need to be some, maybe even couples therapy, but just like to connect in ways that are non sexual first.
yeah,
Maybe cuddling, holding hands, like just recognizing, oh, I have a body and this body wants connection with another body.
yeah.
That's a great place to start after you've done this work with yourself.
I love that. All right, let's jump to death. How do
Mm,
we get people on board with death? How do we get people to really be okay with the fact that everyone is going to die? None of us get out of this alive.
yeah,
How do we get them comfortable with that so that we can actually have those conversations around death?
yeah. Uh, I mean, will are we ever comfortable with it? I'm not
I don't
100%
know.
sure. I think part of it is, I mean, we have to address the worldview, whether you believe that this is it, like this one life is it, and we die and we go in the ground and that's over. That's
Mhm.
going to create a very different relationship to death than if you believe that we reincarnate, for example, or if you
Mhm.
believe that we have souls that go on, or that we go to heaven, or that we go to hell, whatever the belief systems are, create a very different relationship to death.
Yeah.
In some religions, death is actually, the liberation into a beautiful place, and people die on purpose,
It's
right?
an orgasm?
What's that?
It's an orgasm?
It can be for some people, but like, and so I don't know, getting people comfortable with death feels hard to me. Like it feels like that feels difficult to me. What feels more doable is to interrogate our relationship to it and look at, where is my fear of death keeping me from life?
Oh, yeah.
That's for me the question. And what am I holding back on? If I weren't afraid of death, would I be doing something differently
Mhm.
than I do now?
Yeah.
Those kind of questions. The other question is if I, which has been, so overplayed in the coaching world, but it's a valid question. If I had 24 hours left to live, would I do what I'm doing now?
Mm,
Because I feel like death has the potential to be this great clarifier
yeah.
of our values and of what really matters. So facing death and engaging with death and interrogating our relationship to death, and by that to life,
Hmm.
that's where we can live a life that's more true than the life that we're currently living. Because
Mm,
when we start to engage with our life from that perspective of, I could die, if I'm dying tomorrow, would I want to be at this job?
hmm.
Would I want to be with this person?
Hmm.
Would I want to be living where I live? Would I want to be, eating Doritos, like whatever level, right?
Ah,
Would I
yes,
want to be
all the
sitting
way
on
down to
the
a
couch
minute.
3 hours at night, right?
Hmm.
And and so in that way, relating to death can really help us distill and clarify what's most important in life, and give us the courage and the
Yeah,
motivation to actually turn our life in the direction of truth. Because ultimately, it's really about being true to the depth of who you are, not the surface you, but like the deep you.
yeah,
And and I think the prospect of death is one of the most potent clarifiers we have. Like when people get a terminal diagnosis, that's when the shit hits the fan and they
get
shift.
serious.
They shift. But why
Yep,
wait for that? Why
right,
don't wait for the terminal diagnosis? Fucking do it now.
exactly.
That's my perspective. And
Mm,
if life is not how you want it now, you don't have to throw the whole thing out, but what one little thing could you change to
yeah,
start moving in the direction of truth for you? That's what I feel like engaging with death gives us.
heck yes. What is one thing that you wish people would dive deeper into when it comes to cash?
Mm, yeah. Uh, I wish they would dive deeper. It's become there's so much charge on. I mean, there's a phrase in the zeitgeist now: "Eat the rich,"
Yeah,
right?
yes,
And it's so weird to me. Yes, there are the uber rich that are just doing stupid shit and destroying the planet and people, and I'm not for that. Like,
right.
I'm much more for everybody having sufficiency and like being able to live the lives they want to live. That's more where I come from. And so I wish people would interrogate the beliefs around money that they grew up with, because chances are they grew up with some version of, at least in the West, money is the root of all evil.
Yep.
Uh, you know, some version of that.
Hmm.
And if you are a person that's struggling to make ends meet, or feels guilty about what you have, it's worth picking apart how you relate to that phrase, money is the root of all evil, because as long as that's running your life, your relationship to money, abundance, flow, ease is going to be troubled.
Yeah.
And you may literally not have enough money in your life, or you may have enough money but not be able to enjoy it, or feel bad about it, or shrink yourself in certain ways and hide because you have it. And so I think that's really the key, is not glorifying money as the be all end all of what's great about life, and not seeing money as the root of all evil either.
Yeah.
There's an in between space where you deeply understand that money is the energy of exchange that we have chosen to use on this planet. We are constantly exchanging things for what we want.
Mm-hmm.
Exchange is how we live, and it's
Yeah.
necessary. I mean, it's as necessary as breathing. We exchange air and carbon dioxide with the planet, to
We're
live.
not upset about that.
I know we're not bummed about that. We're not pissed at the trees because they produce oxygen, like
Ah,
for us to breathe. Like, we're not mad about that.
nope.
We're not mad that the ocean absorbs is a sink, whatever you call
Carbon
it.
dioxide.
Yeah, for carbon
Yep.
dioxide. Like,
Yep.
we're not mad about that, but we're mad about money.
Yep.
And so
There's a lot of that.
I think cleaning that up and understanding that it's a necessary part of modern life, and
Yeah.
how do we relate to it skillfully so it doesn't control us, but it also doesn't, we're also not afraid or hating it or any of those things. I think it would help a lot of us relate a lot better to what we have, to what we don't have, to people who have more than us, to people who have less than us. Like, it would help that get smoother and cleaner. And I know that sounds like a utopia, but I
It does.
think, but I do think it's necessary because it's part of what has always existed. And I think it's greed and capitalism and accumulation and
Mm-hmm.
all these things that have distorted and messed up how we relate to money. And those of us who have it and have more than we need,
Yeah.
I think it's on us to do some rebalancing. And I
Yes.
think it's on us to be judicious about how we spend, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, because we don't like the planet is in some ways infinite, and in many ways not. Like,
Oh yeah.
when we cut down the last tree, that's the last tree.
Yep.
And life
Right.
will end.
And
When
then
we
everybody will love
pinch that
trees.
fish out of the ocean, that's the end of our food supply. Like,
Right.
right? Like, we can't just go on in this consumptive way.
Yeah.
We have to start understanding, and this is where Indigenous folks really had it right. We have to understand, like, the interchange and the respectful eh, transactional nature of exchange.
Yep. Yeah. Getting back to the root of what what is it actually for?
Yeah.
Why do we actually have this as our I I love having that conversation with my husband. We
Mm.
go into circles about, like, how did it become money? Like, this thing that we have now on cards, or it's just in the ether. How did we get here? And it started with, you know, exchanging furs and animals and eventually gold and a version of a rock that came out of the ground. Like, how
Right.
did we get
Right.
there?
Yeah.
And now it's just fictitious.
It's just this thing,
It's in the ether,
this
and we
number in the
exchange it all
ether.
the time.
It's so trippy.
Right? Oh, so it's a fun conversation to have with someone who, has a healthy relationship with their money. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important to acknowledge, like, many of us don't.
No,
Many
no.
of us don't have a healthy relationship to it. We either want it too much, or we hate it, or we fear it, or, there's
Or we're
just like,
desperate for it,
we're
or we're
desperate for it.
going, what do I
Exactly.
do with it?
Exactly. I mean, and that's one of the things I like to say about sex, death, and cash. Like, each of those things has the capacity to really hook us and
Mhm.
make us go completely unconscious and into our reactive patterns. And they each have the capacity to free us and have us expand into the truest version of ourselves that we can. And so, but it's through facing and engaging with each of them that we can do that. Recognizing that it's super easy to get hooked and go down a path of fear, or go down a path of unconscious uh, repetition of patterns. Um,
Mhm.
which it's not our fault. It's very natural for that to happen, but it takes effort to turn our relationship with all three of those taboos towards something liberating, which I think is what the planet needs. Not the planet, but the world, the people world
People.
needs.
Yeah. Those of us existing with conscious brains and
Exactly.
efforting all the time to just live. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
They really, each of them is liberatory,
Hmm.
potentially,
Potentially, if
depending
you
on
can
how we
get past the
approach
fear.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Marie Elizabeth, you are my people. You are my
Likewise.
sister in this effort to wake people up
Yeah.
and show them like there are other ways to go about this, and try this one or try this one and
Yes.
see which one's going to liberate you. So thank you. Thank you for being on the podcast with me. Thank you for being who you are in the world. And you guys go check out Sex, Death, and Cash on Substack. It is so good. And I can't wait for your book to come out. I am dropping that in here.
Thank
That is
you.
coming.
May
Yes.
it be so.
Right? It's a book. It's in process, people. Pay attention to Sex, Death, and Cash, and you'll know when the book comes out. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I've loved our conversation.
Me too. This is, it goes back to like living in the moment and, are you doing the thing that you want to do if this was your last 24 hours? Abso-fucking-lutely.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah. Talking to you would be on the list.
Exactly. Hey, I just want to take a moment to talk to the women listening right now who are high performing, strong willed, self competitive, and maybe a little too good at pushing through pain. You know who you are. You've built a life by going all in, whether it's your career, your sport, or your business. But lately, your body's been trying to get your attention, and not in a gentle way. It's screaming at you. If that's you, I created something for you. It's a private podcast called The Secrets of Body Whispering. And it's all about learning how to hear the subtle whispers your body is sending before they turn into full-blown screams and symptoms. I'm sharing the exact tools I use with my private one-to-one clients and group coaching clients to help them heal faster, move through chronic issues, and reconnect to the part of them that knows how to perform without burning out. So if you're ignoring the screams and you're ready to actually listen to what your body needs through the whispers, click the link in the show notes to get access. Yay! You made it to the end of the episode. Good job. Now, go share this with your friends. Go like, subscribe, leave me a review. Let me know that you like what's happening here on the Gutsy Chick podcast. And if you're a female high performer with mysterious chronic health condition, go check out the Gutsy Chick quiz so you can find out what might be holding you back from healing. And if you want more on what I do with my clients and my blog and any podcasts that I've been a guest on, go to bodywhisperhealing.com. Thanks for listening.